Okay, so big news coming out of Kenya this week. We're talking political drama, high stakes, the whole shebang. You've probably seen the headlines about Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua facing impeachment, right?
Yeah, this is huge. We're talking a full-blown constitutional crisis brewing.
Exactly. And I think for a lot of people, Kenyan politics might seem a world away, but this is the kind of thing that can have ripple effects across the entire region. So we're going to do a deep dive, try to break down exactly what's going on and why it matters.
Absolutely. And look, Kenya's political scene, it's never exactly quiet.
Right.
But this impeachment attempt, this is next level.
Okay, so before we get into the weeds, I think it's worth doing a quick impeachment 101.
For sure.
Because it's not as simple as, like, you're out. There's a whole process, right?
Right. It's all laid out in the Kenyan Constitution, Article 145 to be exact.
Yeah.
And it's actually a two-part process. So first, the National Assembly, which is basically their parliament, they have to vote. And, well, they already did that this week.
And it wasn't even close, was it?
No, not at all. They voted overwhelmingly to impeach Gachagua.
282 MPs for impeachment, only 44 against. And get this, one abstention, just one. I have so many questions about that one person.
Right. Talk about being on the fence.
Seriously. But, okay, so that's a huge margin. 282 to 44, that's got to send a message.
Absolutely. It really highlights the depth of opposition to Gachagua right now. This wasn't some partisan squabble either. You had folks from across the political spectrum voting for impeachment.
So what happens next? I mean, that's a big first hurdle, but it's not over, right?
Right. Now it goes to the Senate.
Yeah.
And they have to decide whether to actually remove Gachagua from office.
And they need that two-thirds majority vote, too, right?
That's right. Same as in the National Assembly.
Okay, so the pressure is really on them now. And from what I understand, they don't have a ton of time to mess around.
Nope. The Constitution lays out a pretty tight timeline.
So walk us through it. What's the play-by-play here?
So the Senate Speaker, they have 7 days to call everyone back for a meeting. 7 days. That's it.
Wow. Okay, then what?
Then they could decide to form a special committee to investigate the accusations against Gachagua further, which, that would buy them a little more time, another 10 days for the investigation.
So it's like a whole other mini trial, basically.
Pretty much. And after that, the committee would present their findings to the full Senate, and then they'd vote on whether to uphold the impeachment or not.
Okay, so there are a lot of moving parts here and not a lot of time to make it happen.
Exactly. It's a fast-moving situation with incredibly high stakes.
So for those of us who, aren't constitutional scholars, what's the big takeaway here? Why should we care about any of this?
Well, first of all, Kenya is a major player in East Africa. Economically, politically, they're kind of a linchpin for the whole region.
Right, it's not just about Kenya.
Right. So any instability there, it can have a ripple effect throughout the entire region.
And I imagine this whole situation, it can't be good for stability.
It creates a lot of uncertainty. And that uncertainty can impact everything. We're talking potential economic impacts, trade disruptions, maybe even security concerns, depending on how things play out. It's like if Kenya gets a cold, all of East Africa is reaching for the tissues.
So a lot to keep an eye on here. As this whole thing unfolds, what's the one thing you're going to be watching most closely?
Honestly, the Senate. They're the ones to watch right now. How they handle this, how quickly they move, who they appoint to that special committee if they choose to go that route, all of it is going to be incredibly telling. Not just for Gachagua's political future, but for Kenya's future as a whole.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, anytime.
And for everyone listening, make sure you stay tuned. We will, of course, be following this story closely.